Hi everybody, this is Laravel DFW for November 2014, and my name's Tanner. So we're just getting started. We have a bunch of people in here this week, or this month, sorry. David Hemphill is going to be presenting. Before that, I have a few quick things. The first of which is I actually got a ping from someone this week about a contract job here in DFW, or really anywhere, I guess. Oh wait, no, I take that back. It was not anywhere. It was specifically here where they could come into the office. So if you are interested, just send an email to talk@laraveldfw.com, and maybe my voice won't crack in emails. But talk@laraveldfw.com. So I can shoot you the details. I think it had to do with connecting up like an API and some other stuff. The other thing is, if you have a question at all during any of what we're doing tonight, if you have a question for David or a question for anybody, just go to laraveldfw.com/ask and ask away. Ask any question you like. So finally, I just have like a little bit of like an intro, like funny, weird fact that I learned today that has nothing to do with anything we've ever done before. That how many people that are in the Hangout right now know what a cashew tree looks like? Like cashews, like the nuts.
Nope.
Does anybody? Okay, so I'm just gonna like screen share really quick because this is crazy. So this month's Laravel DFW is brought to you by Cashew Trees, and this is what it looks like. It's like the craziest thing I've ever seen. I had no idea that that's what cashews look like. So anyways, I just was talking with a friend today, and they said something about cashews, and there you go. So that's your crazy fact for the month. So without further ado, ask questions, and if you want to jump in the Hangout, you can just shoot an email again to talk@laraveldfw, and then I'll join you in. And that's about it. So this month is David. He's talking about Workbench packages and some awesome stuff that he's built. He's previewed it for some of us at MusicBed, and it looks really cool. So David, let's go to you.
Alright, so everybody can hear me, I guess. I'm going to jump in here to a screen share.
Who are you, David?
My name is David, and I am a designer and coder, and I do that currently at the MusicBed. Or actually, it's MusicBed now. No, Can you guys see my screen? Is that working?
I see myself.
Alright. Yeah, so this month we're going to talk about crafting packages with Workbench. And you can see I have like the most inspired slideshow design ever. So just to get started, I want you guys to feel free to ask questions at the Laravel DFW ask section, or just pop them in right here, or just like interrupt me, you guys that are in the Hangout, because it's not a terribly difficult thing to do with Laravel, but it might be kind of confusing if you haven't done it before. So we can start. We could say, why would we want to create a Workbench package? Well, that's a good question. See, Laravel is kind of made up of packages itself. The whole framework is actually a bunch of components strung together, called Illuminate. And Laravel can use two different kinds of packages. Ones that are just like standalone, and one of those might be like Carbon, which is a date handler, lets you format dates really easily. But there's other ones that you could use specifically with Laravel, like this one I've built that I'm calling Bumble. It's built specifically to work with Laravel. And so you might want to create a Workbench package to say you have a specific kind of auth process you like to use at your job or on the sites that you build. You could extract all that out to a package, and then you could reuse that, and it kind of promotes this code separation and code reusability that you wouldn't have if you were just building it every time you built a site. So it has a number of benefits. One is separation. The other is that you could open source it and a bunch of people could work on it. And you could have different modules of a web application that can be worked on by different teams. So the way we get started with that is I have a demo planned for this, but I'm just going to run through the steps real quick in kind of a theory, and then we'll actually build one. But the way you start off is you edit the Workbench config file. You can find that in app/config, and basically it's just this. It's just a name and an email that gets puked into composer.json for your package. And this needs to be in place before you can generate the package, or else it'll throw an error. It'll work, but it'll kind of throw an error and it'll complain at you. And it just lets the people that are going to use the package know who did it. And you can create a package by running this command, php artisan workbench, and then you pass in a vendor / whatever you want the package to be called. So like my package is called monarchy/bumble. And if you're building just a standalone package that can be used with any framework or anything that's uses Composer, you don't have to pass the resources flag. But if you want something that's specifically for Laravel, passing in the resources flag will generate things like controllers, a migrations folder, seeds, views, config file, and public folder. I think that's all that there is, but it kind of gets that all set up for you really easily. From there, it's just a matter of registering the package service provider, and you would do that like you would use any other package by doing that in app.php. And so you get a service provider that's built for you by default by Workbench, and it'll say something like monarchy/bumble service provider, and you just pop that thing in app.php, and that'll get you started. And so you can register all sorts of things in a service provider. You can do things like auth filters. You could have a set of validation rules that are specific to what you need to do in the package. If something's not provided in Laravel by default, you can create a bunch of validation rules that you can use. I've got a bunch of helpers that I like to include. If your package needs to use routing at all, you can include a routes file just like your normal routes file that Laravel comes with. I've got one that has a bunch of view composers that I use, and then I have one that does blade extensions, and that's the kind of package we're going to build later on, is a markdown blade extension. The service provider also lets you register IOC container bindings. It lets you set up facades and just basically do any general bootstrapping that your package needs. So like in this example, you can see that you can do like, I've got a package repo service that I want to be able to use the vendor repository's package repo implementation. You could also bind an interface to a specific implementation, and this would be a great place to do that. And you can also see that I've made a facade here, or an alias actually, and I've just done that so that the users of my package don't have to register it in their own app.php. This kind of just adds it ad hoc when the service provider is ran. that all make sense?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
does.
good, man.
Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay here, so
Oh, am I echoing? Is it bad?
no,
No,
it's fine.
that's not bad. It's good.
No, it's clear, man.
Oh, cool. I'm kind of blowing through the slides, so it's awesome. We're gonna get out of here early.
Well, it'll be it'll be cool to see your thing in action too. So
Yeah. So there's not much to say about configuration. It'll generate the Workbench command will generate a config file for you, just config.php in a folder called config, and you can use that throughout your package and actually throughout the whole application just by I didn't show it there, but by using the package's name. So like mine is monarchy/bumble, and it uses that second half bumble to get config items out of that file. So it would be like bumble : site title, or bumble : app.config item. If you have more than one config file, you'll be able to get to it by specifying the package, and then whatever the file name is, app, database, config item. That's kind of confusing, but if you just have a single config file, you don't need to put in the file name dot the key. You can just put in the key. Controllers, again, there's not much to say. They're just like Laravel controllers. They're routable, so you can route to them anywhere inside the main app routes file, or you can set up your own if you're building something like a CMS or an app admin. Packages can also have their own migrations. So if you need to do any database work, that's a great place to do that. You can have all the migrations there, namespace, so that they don't clash with anything in the user's app directory. And you can run those this way. Just running php artisan migrate and passing the bench flag with your vendor and package name. Packages can have their own routes, like I said before, and they can respond to any URL. In Laravel 3, they had this concept of bundles, which is like the precursor to packages. They didn't use Composer, or maybe they did, I can't remember, but they could only handle a subdirectory on the thing. They couldn't actually handle every URL, but in Laravel 4 and 5, packages can route to any URL at all. I will say though, if you have the same route specified in the main routes file, that will get ran first, and that has priority over your packages. That's a little gotcha. Views, they're just like Laravel views, man. You can get to them by returning view make package and whatever the view name is, or you can go into folders and get those views just like you would normally do. So the key thing is there's a lot of similarity between getting config items and getting views. It's that package : that package being whatever your package's name is. So that's all with that. Is there any questions right now before we go and build a little thing?
I think it makes sense. Does any? Oh, there's a chat message though.
Sweet. Let's talk about it. Where am I?
Do you think it's important, or Osvaldo, do you have sound?
Yeah,
You can go just ask it then.
sure. So the question is, do you think it's important to support PSR4 autoloading? There's been an issue, a couple of issues posted on GitHub about this, and it's being debated whether it's just a mere using less folders in PSR4 is not a big deal, but being that PSR4 is the recommended way of developing packages moving forward, and Workbench still supports PSR 0. I'm just wondering what you guys think, if it's at all important of you, or it's not a big deal.
Well, I think it comes out of the box with PSR 0 support, right?
Yeah.
And so on Bumble, I've upgraded it to PSR 4, I think. I'm pretty sure that I did that. But I think it's probably important, because this
Have you had any trouble having your package as PSR4 and supporting, publish config and all that, or you don't support that in your package?
No, but now that's an interesting question, 'cause it makes me want to go check and see if I did actually do PSR4 or not.
Because that's if you look at that issue I'm linking to there, that's the actual problem, that some of the published paths are hard coded, and so there's a discussion of whether or not they should be sort of customizable, like the same way that you can set a custom path for your package within the service provider, so that when you do publish config or whatever, it works.
Yeah, I think that would be important. I wouldn't want anything just to not work for no
I'm the
reason.
only one that thinks it's important. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think without having something like Workbench, I would maybe have not have had the confidence or to build something like what I built. It would just been, I don't know, maybe I would have done it, but it's just been a lot harder if something like that didn't work out of the box. If I wanted to use PSR4 and it just didn't work.
Yeah. Right now, I haven't. I just have the packages I have are PSR0, just because I don't want. I'm not sure if it will break that sort of thing. So I'm just hoping that it supported soon. Maybe in 5, or maybe in incremental version of Laravel.
Yeah. So I'm gonna check really quick just because you got me curious.
But don't let. I mean, just a question to think about. But don't let this stop your presentation if you want to keep going on with your demo.
Oh yeah.
It's just, we don't have to dwell on it right now.
Well, I'm just gonna think about it real quick for you guys
All right.
before we move on. Yeah, it's actually PSR 0. Haven't changed that.
Yeah.
So I've got, where's the window? I've got a fresh install of Laravel here,
Cool.
and we're going to create a little package. So let me get that up. So here I am in the folder. Like I said, it's pretty easy to get started. Watch this not work. That would be so funny.
That's what happened to me like a few months ago. I was trying to use Jeff's what is it, templater or whatever, and it didn't work. It's terrible.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this goes smooth. But here I'm just passing in the artisan workbench command with monarchy/markdown, because we're making a blade extension that you can just pass around to each of the sites you use. So I didn't actually pass through the email or the name like I said I would, or said I should. And there's the complaining it does. I'll put my email here. And let me just remove the workbench file, and we'll do it again. So it's going to install the dependencies needed, which is just illuminate support. You can see we've got just the monarchy folder, Add that to markdown. Get some more room. I've just got a simple folder structure there. So I don't think we need a package with resources, but this package is going to need, it's going to use the PHP Markdown extension package. I'm going to add that. Run this really quick. Hopefully this is quick.
Hopefully.
Oh, yeah, loaded from the cache. That's great.
Wow, awesome. The first time in history.
Yeah, it's super slow normally. Let's look at get some text that we can pretend like we're doing something here. I gotta set all this up, sorry. What I'm gonna do is make this use a controller. We're gonna pass some fake data that we want to pretend like it's coming from an Eloquent or somewhere in the database. And that doesn't work. Okay. What did it do? Oh. And then let's get this set up where we can actually just set up a database really quick. We'll call it blog. Nope, we don't want to do that. We want to do it in the local folder because we're local. So I already took the liberty to create the database so you didn't have to see that boring stuff. To create some database stuff that we can work with. We'll create 2 posts. What are we going to say about James?
Wise. That's it. Called it.
Okay. And so I'll create a model. Maybe I should have did this before. Sorry, guys. So let's get
You don't have to prefix eloquent with a slash?
not when it's not namespaced.
That's right.
It's a little bit of delay, so it's kind of weird typing.
James says he likes James's spelling better than his. We have a James with a Y and a James sans Y.
You guys can all start using that if you want. Whoops.
I have a Y in my name.
Tainer.
It's actually after the E. Tainer.
Okay. So give it a little structure. Man, I don't know how Jeffrey Way does it so fast.
He probably just puts it on like 2-speed whenever he's doing it. Although he does it live and it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, this has got to be Blade.
Jeffrey Way is not human.
Cool, we got that, but we don't want to have to make this to be HTML every time, so we want to be able to do something like
Oh man, that PHP Storm blade highlighting is so nice. Now that it's added in.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
When was that? Like a month ago?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe 2 months now.
Does that require a version change?
Yeah, this is PHP
Version 8.
Storm 8.
Ah, man, I've got an old license.
You can get the EAP too, and it should work. The early access. What is that?
Yeah, the syntax highlighting is really nice to have finally for Blade.
Yeah. So this is the service provider. I guess we need to add it to our app.config. If I make a mistake, you guys make sure and tell me so I don't go forever with the misspelling.
So random question, although you probably just answered it because of what it's called, but what is the package doing? It's going to do Markdown?
It's going to do,
Parse Markdown.
yeah, it's going to basically allow us to use Markdown in Blade. So we're going to do at Markdown and then pass in the content we want to spit out and Markdown it up. Something simple and easy that we can do. So I pulled in the Markdown package, and we're just going to do a Blade extension right here and just get it working. And so that would look something like and then you would pass in a closure, and boom. So it doesn't matter what this is doing, but basically it's replacing that at Markdown with a call to the default transform on the Michelle's Markdown package. And since we've registered our service provider, this registration will happen when the app is loaded up on each request. And this should work, but it won't because we've got this here. We'll import that and it should work. Nope. Alrighty.
Debug time.
Yeah, debug, dude. This is great. Oh, okay, I know. It's probably the views are cached, and so we're probably getting a cached version of that view. So if there's something wrong, it would squawk at us. There we go.
Very nice.
That parses all that in Markdown for us.
Yeah.
Now from here, a Blade extension can't actually be class-based like validation or view composers. So this would mean we were done basically right now with this. We could do a git init inside of the Workbench folder and load it up on GitHub, put it on packages, and use it. There's probably a lot better packages that you could use that do this, but that's really how simple it is to build a package. Is there any questions so far?
It's pretty crazy.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you extend Blade right there,
Mm-hmm.
what is view? Is view a string or the view object?
It's,
Or it's a string?
I guess it gets past, no, it's a, I can't go in there, can I? It's the,
The view content, right? Because you're doing a per replace on it.
Yeah, it's got to be the view content where that it gets passed in when you call that, and then the compiler looks for a matcher at markdown and then replaces using that pattern.
Cool.
Any other questions? I'll show you something a little more, I don't know, let me say substantial that I built as a package. I'll get rid of a bunch of stuff. Well, I built something I'm calling Bumble after the snowman in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It's just a CMS that you can use with Laravel, and it's designed so that you can use Laravel like you normally would, with your eloquent models and all that. But the benefit is that it allows you to work with your migrations, your data, eloquent, Laravel, the whole ecosystem, and not have to build to the specifications that like a CMS would normally. Normally you build apps. Normally you build websites inside of the CMS for the CMS instead of the other way around, having a CMS that you can just throw on top of your app. And so I wanted a package that could do that. Something that could be my go-to solution for that kind of content management solution, problem, and something that would be pretty easy to white label. So I'm going to show you how to get started with it. Just clear out this window and start over. I think that I already added the package, so we didn't have to wait for that. Yep. And so I'm just going to run through how an end user might use one of your packages, and hopefully it doesn't break. So
Yeah.
all of your assets and configuration, your end user can publish them. So like I'm publishing a config file, and this will put a copy of your config file in their config folder so they can edit and override the settings that you give them. And just like this package actually needs some assets, so it needs some JavaScript and some views and stuff. And so I'm going to publish those really quick. Just like I mentioned earlier, you need to add your service provider for the package. This is how your users would install it. So hopefully we haven't broken anything. Okay, except for this, which we'll get back to that. Actually, I want to delete that. Darn it. Let's see, what's the next step here? We got the database configured, and this package has some migrations that need to be ran, or they can be optionally ran. In Bumble, if we go into this folder, we can see that I've got migrations that will create a users table for you, do a password reminders table, and then a token table for those password reminders. So we're going to run those and add those to the database. Well, we won't be able to do it here. I forgot. I have to go to my VM. So we migrated those, and I've also built it so you could get a user by default by running a seeder. So I'm going to seed the database with a class that I've written for the package. If we look in the database, we should have a users folder with a sample user that we can use. Love it. Okay. I've configured the package to respond to admin/login. Oh, it worked. Yay.
Success.
It works, but you look inside here by default and there's nothing in here. It's so sad. There's not even an image of the user. What is that?
I can't figure out what that is.
Oh, okay. I thought it was me. I thought I did something wrong. Okay, and so we don't see anything in the CMS right now because we haven't configured any models to show up. So let's do that real quick. Let's make this user model show up. First off, we need to make sure the model extends Bumble model, which extends Eloquent in the background. And you'll see we get this red line, which means that we need to implement some methods. Actually, just one method, set fields. In Bumble, you can set up a bunch of fields for your editing interface. We also want this to use the Bumble user trait, which will just let us use Gravatar for the avatar. That should break. Yep, yeah. Okay, so the user's showing up, and then we've got a cool Gravatar because this email doesn't exist in the system. So let's make this user work with Bumble. All we have to do is return a new field set object. And inside of that, we can pass in a bunch of fields. So let's just start with the first name and the last name. I think PHP Storm imported that. No, it didn't. Okay. So go here. We should get our administrator that we made, and we'll be able to edit the first and last name.
Mr. Bumble Administrator.
Yeah, let's change that because that's kind of dumb. So my name is actually David Hemphill. Our user changes up here, and I actually want my email address to be correct. So I've got a column in my database email, and these all map to columns. Should show up here. There's my face, my lovely face on the screen there.
What was there a default password, or did you set the password?
There was a default password, and that's a good thing. We should probably change that, don't you think? So we could use, in the Bumble system, we have text fields, but we have a lot of other type of fields. But if we use just a normal text field, of course, we're going to get the gobbledygook that's hashed, and that's stupid. I mean, we could put in our own hashes if we knew how to do that, but it's much better to use a field that is built for that. We just so happen to have one. This will hide it from the listing, and then you can actually go in here and create your own password. So I'm going to make it, let's see. Passwords are hard, dude. Here, I'll just use it from one password. And hopefully not lock myself out. It worked. So that's a little demo of it. Let's take it a step further though. Let's add a post model. So we wanted to create a blog, and so we needed an interface that had a title, a slug, some content. We'll use a text area field. And we need to run some migrations so that we have some data. So let's go back here. Sure our model is loaded up. Create a new. Oop. Okay, so we created a migration and it's going to load it up. And I'll just pop it in real quick. We're going to have an ID field, title, slug, an excerpt, and some content. We're also going to throw in the deleted at and the timestamps like you would normally do with your classes. So this is the fun part when we're creating a class or generating the optimized class loader. This is the fun part. We get to wait for that. Oh, it's done. So we can run the migration. And we get our post table back, which is awesome. See if we haven't broken something here. Oh. Didn't import the class. This is beta software, by the way, so this looks like it's not working great.
It looks pretty cool to me.
So we've got a post. We haven't created any, so it's going to give us a nice message. And we'll say, here's a cool sample post. And for now, we'll just say, we'll put in the slug ourselves, but I think that's kind of annoying that you have to put in your own slug. So it's as simple as that. We could delete this just like we normally would. But say if we deleted it, we didn't want it to go away forever. Bumble supports that, and I've programmed it to do that. You can use the soft deleting trait that comes with Laravel. Storm doesn't want to play nice today. Here we go. You'll see that a new button showed up, View Trashed. That shows us all the soft deleted entries. So if we create a new entry,
A entry?
yeah, I just don't want to put the slug in. I think that's annoying. And then we delete it. Doesn't actually go away. It's just here in the trash stuff. So we can restore it if we want, or we can totally delete it. So I'm going to restore it. So let's fix that slug thing that was bugging me. We've actually got a field type that's a slug field. Oh. We can pass through an option, set it from, and we can pass in whatever one of these fields that we want. So I'll just say it from the title. If we just save this one, it gives us a nice fresh slug. We can do it again. You don't have to pass through. banner with a Y. So slug fields, that's cool. Is this boring, or should I show you a little more? I got a few more things that I could show.
I think it's pretty awesome. It makes it super easy to set up stuff based on Eloquent.
I think it's pretty cool. So say these entries, we wanted to be able to like have images that go with them, like a banner. It's simple. So say we needed to add a banner. We could do this in a migration, but I'm just going to do this here real quick just because it's faster. So we've added a new field to this model called a file field, and we're calling it banner, and that maps to the banner column. We get a listing for it, and when we create a new post, see, it gives us a cool uploading interface. It's not very beautiful yet, but we're going to make it that way. We're going to upload the Bumble from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And see, by default, it uploaded to the public folder uploads. So since these models are soft deletable, when you delete the row, you don't want the image to go away when you delete it because you might bring it back, right? So we're just going to leave it in there, and it knows how to do that. And so when we restore it, we still have our avatar there.
So if you permanently delete it, will it go away?
If you permanently delete it, it will go away. Or you can set it by default to unlink on delete. I'm good at spelling today. There we go. Actually, it's smart enough to know that if you deleted it here, I think I got this working where it won't delete it still because it knows that it's soft deletable. So it knows not to delete it yet, but if you go into the trash and then delete it, you get rid of it. Yep. So it's gone. So hopefully the system will have a lot of little niceties like that. As far as customability, so we want to change this to my personal blog. And I wanted to be able to show, I blog a lot, so I wanted to be able to show 20 on a page. It'll paginate for us. We've also got S3 fields that you can just upload directly to S3. And you can put your models folder wherever you want. And you can even specify where the admin goes. So I have it by default at admin, but you could say like expression engine style, like system, or even any of these endpoints can change. If you wanted to have like a sign in, sign out, those be the routes instead. You can do it. And
so what are all of the fields that you have?
That's still in flux right now, but what is planned is like your basic kind of stuff. So like Boolean fields, so that'd be like your true false, or like active inactive kind of field. A date field, date time field. Yeah, let's add a date time field. That'd be cool. So we wanted to edit the created at column for some reason. Oh, Storm is not importing my classes correctly and make me look stupid. So it'll give you a nice thing here, and you can specify how you want that to show if you want, but it's got a cool value by default. And that gives you a nice date picker, time picker. There's also a drop-down field, some other fields that I haven't figured out how I want to do them yet. The password fields, S3 field, slug field, text area, and the text field, and a time field. And there'll be lots more. The plan is to have more like a plugin system where you can create your own field types and they show up in the system the correct way. And so we're still working on that. So you may have noticed that I haven't seen any validation errors yet. So I just created an empty entry. And that's probably not ideal, so we probably should add some validation. So let's make the title required and then content required. That'll do what you think it does. It just gives you the errors. So we've got that taken care of. And there's a tendency in some CMSs for your field editing fields to get really long. And so I've made it to where you can take your fields and split them up into their own tabs. So that it's really easy to edit your content.
Osvaldo's smiling. I think he likes it.
Or he probably thinks that, why did David just build a CMS that we already did too?
Yeah, sorta. No, but I'm a big fan of field type systems, and nevertheless, it excites me to see this type of thing being built. So I mean, it looks great. So I have a question. The fields accept options, right?
Mm-hmm. They do.
And so far, the field's responsibility is to build the form.
Mm-hmm.
And there's does it have this feature, or do you plan it to sort of hook into the migration where you can define, this field is going to create this column in the database?
There is, in the Django ecosystem, there is that kind of, I think there's a functionality that does that. When you create a field type and the column doesn't exist, that it will do that. I haven't planned on doing that yet, just because I figure the people that will use Bumble will have their own migrations and they'll kind of know. But
right.
I would explore that, definitely. You were talking about options. I was just going to show how you could create different kinds of text area fields. So like if you wanted your text area field to look like just a normal text field, you could switch its widget out on the fly and get this kind of widget. Or say you wanted to use the what you see is what you get field widget. It gives you a nice WYSIWYG. I can go full screen kind of thing.
Could you show the actual field class, see how all that looks?
Sure. So field is just an abstract class, and it takes an array of options and a title that get set. They know how to get their own field type. They know whether they're an image field or not. And it's just basic stuff right here, but we're going to make that all nicer. That way, if you have all kinds of image fields, they'll register themselves and that
What
kind
about that specific text area field?
Text area field is just a field, but it knows which widget to get, because on the field,
Widget is a class?
widget that's kind of a thing that I've been toying with. In Django, each widget type is actually a class, but here it's not there. It's just like kind of a view convention, so it knows which folder to go get it based on the widget type. That kind of is in the development process still. So it has a title, description that you can set.
Cool.
And you could say, use a different column rather than using the column we pass in as the title of the field, and tell it whether to show in the listing or not. You can set a placeholder for the input. Let's see if there's anything else interesting. You can disable fields, and basically each field, when you save an entry, there's a process method that gets called, and it gets past the model and the input of the request, and then each one by default can process the way they want to the data. So you can sanitize it, you can validate it again and throw an exception that will get shown to the user. The image fields upload, that kind of thing. So there's lots of flexibility there for you to create your own kind of methodologies. Let's see if there's anything.
A field could potentially process 2 columns, for example.
That's correct. So you like have a date field that was maybe like a year, a month, and a day. And there are 3 inputs, and then when it gets saved, you can combine all of that into one column type.
Right, that's a good example.
There's also, I'm working on a markdown field, but that's not ready to go yet. I showed you the date time field. And I guess the last thing that I would show that's interesting, I guess, to me, well, we could show you this one feature. We can make models show up in the top nav, which is kind of nice. Just if you have ones that you like to use all the time. The last thing I guess I could say is that Bumble has a service that runs when you save the entry. It's called the post service, and you could actually use this in your own application to save your models. So if you've got a route in your app, say like posts for some reason, and this was a post. Say you were creating an API at /posts. You could spin up the service itself using something like app make. Oops. Whoops. And you could run all the validation and such. So you wouldn't have to create that yourself if you didn't want to, but you could. So I guess I didn't really show how it all work together, but does that kind of make sense? Does that look cool?
Yeah, definitely looks cool. You could inject the a class in a route function, right? With the method injection is new. You're using Laravel 4, right?
Right.
Right. Sorry.
You talking about Laravel 5 stuff?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Got confused.
No, that's cool.
I'm eager.
Me too. I actually really want to support Laravel 5, but it's it's changing so much. It's hard to know what's going to be the same. So it's
Yeah, I mean, when the stable version comes out, you just have to make a few tweaks here and there, and you'll be done. It's not a big deal.
Mhm.
It's maybe not worth it to do it now. Just wait for the stable to come
Yeah,
out.
that's what I think. So I guess we lost Andrew way back when, did we?
Yeah, I think Max might jump in. He wanted to see Bumble.
Yeah, I'd love to show it to him. I
Yeah, Andrew
talk,
had to go. I forgot what he had to do, but yeah. Yeah, I'm excited about it, man. I think it's going to be really good. It's definitely going to be able to make it easier to work with Eloquent and push things out super quickly. So,
yeah, I like it. I mean, I built it to scratch my own itch just because I wanted a development challenge, but also I wanted something like that. There's a lot of good CMS packages out there, like Laravel Administrator, which is good. Uh, of course, Pyro CMS is great.
Yeah, we plan on having a beta and the right after Laravel has its stable. I mean, Rain is saying the 15th, but it has to be when Laravel comes out. So,
Yeah,
because then the next day they could have a breaking change.
yeah,
We're not gonna have beta with a breaking change. So, uh, but it'd be interesting to see the differences, right? Because from what I can see, your system is doesn't rely on storage, right? For the fields, it's all classes,
yeah,
which is really awesome. Very developer oriented,
yeah,
but ours relies more on storage and handles column creation and all that stuff. It's a bit more modular.
hmm
So definitely some differences there, but I mean we definitely can learn from each other.
yeah, for sure. I actually started Bumble that way. I think where it
mhm.
was kind of it did handle the schema creation and all that for you, but then I got to the point where I was like, I wanted something that would actually like I could just do as a developer because I knew I was going to make migrations and I was going to make all this stuff. So maybe if it created migrations for me, that'd be kind of nice. So I didn't have to worry about it, and it gave me an interface to do all that, create schema and stuff. Or maybe I should just use Pyro then.
Yeah, I mean, what do you mean? What you merge some features into? I mean, because Streams is gonna be like the base system. I mean, PyroCM is gonna be built on top of Streams, and Streams is the one that has that field type system.
hmm
So I mean, something. Cause I mean, it's all the same to me. If you wanna, I mean, Bumble CMS looks like its own product already. You have a website. Hey, I'm not gonna tell you, hey, don't do it. But I mean, if you look, you get to see streams, and you say, oh, it might be worth it. Then we can talk. I mean, still the same thing.
Yeah, so I do have a website there, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
If you guys
And
want to learn more about it, you can go to bumblecms.com and put your
yeah.
email in right there. Uh,
I just signed up for that beta.
Yeah, I did too.
I mean, and the other interesting thing is that they're packages. So I was just thinking, hey, it won't keep you from using Bumble, the Bumble package within Streams at all.
Hmm.
You could just use it. I mean, after all, it's just a PHP Laravel application.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing about following standards in Composer. That interoperability.
Yeah. That's why you should create packages so everybody else can benefit from them.
Definitely.
I like it.
So that's basically all I got. I think that's
Danny, how you feeling about all this?
Feeling good.
you want to create your own CMS?
Not yet. Other than Bumble.
There's not enough CMSs out there.
Oh no, not at all.
Hey, so finally they released the lexicon beta. So I encourage you to give it a try.
Where do we
And-
look for it?
Hmm?
Where should we look for it online?
So it's the vendor is Anomaly. I'm gonna write it here. On packages.
Uh-huh.
So you can that I actually wrote a blog post, so I'm just gonna post it here.
Cool.
Still
Anomaly.
like development, but a beta is out.
Mm,
So give
Very
it a
cool.
try, and you can use it in Bumble if you want it.
yeah, I like it.
It's cool. I just saw the chat stuff happening. I didn't see that before.
Yeah. Well, so do you have anything else you want to add, David?
Go sign up at bumblecms.com and I will spam you forever. I promise.
You need to have a little. You should add, like, instead of help text that says we will not spam you, you should say we will sell your email to
Yeah. We
To
already
the-
know your email.
any bidder that wants it. It's willing to pay. All of them. We'll sell it multiple times for a quick buck.
So it's David at leavemealone.com.
Yeah.
Is that taken? We should. I'm gonna go get
Oh.
leave.io if it's not taken. Although David's the domain spear. He like gets them and then they're
I
gone.
Mm-hmm.
accidentally wrote bumblebee.com. Bumble CMS. Oh, here it is. Cool. Good looking website.
Hey, leave me alone.
I like-
Vacations. That's pretty good.
What is it?
Leave me alone. Vacations.
Ah.
I don't know.
Oh, that looks weird. Yeah, so
Awesome. Nice.
thanks for letting me talk.
Cool.
It was a good
Well,
time.
does anybody have anything interesting they want to share before we jet? Stuart, what are you up to these days? I see a whiteboard behind you. Are you in your office? Yes.
Yeah. I'm interning out in San Francisco this semester.
Cool. What company are you interning with?
Yep. I'm at Sorcery, and they handle the payment and ordering process between restaurants and the food vendors.
Oh, very cool.
So I'm
That's
doing
awesome.
mostly like front end work for them.
Sure. That's awesome, man. Well, all right. Well, that's about it. So check out bumblecms.com. If you're watching now, I'm going to take a second and put it up there. bumblecms.com. There you go. Is that spelled right, David?
Yep.
So bumblecms.com. Sign up. If you're visiting from the future, maybe it'll be released. So if you're watching this on YouTube a year from now, then go to bumblecms.com and download it, or include it in your Composer file. If Composer exists a year from now, by then we'll probably be using our space jets or something to fly around and build our own packages and projects. So cool. Well, that's it. So feel free to shoot us an email at talk@laraveldfw.com or ask a question at laraveldfw.com/ask.
Oh yeah.
If you have anything else, just let us know. So December is going to be interesting. We'll see what happens. There might be something cool, or we might take the month off. So it'll be like all or nothing, basically. We typically take 1 month off a year, just like because of holidays and junk. So, but there's a possibility that it could be really cool. So stay tuned. Go to laraveldfw.com, sign up for the email blast. Go to meetup.com, and you can find us there and an RSVP and all of that. I think we almost have 100 members now on Meetup. So that's awesome. We need to schedule a dinner soon locally, so email us, talk@laraveldfw.com, and bug us a bunch to like set that up, because we really need to do a dinner so that we can get everybody together and just talk about stuff that we're doing. So yeah, that's all I got. David, you said you have something?
I did. You can actually, if you're not faint of heart, you can go to GitHub and look up monarchy/Bumble and install the package today if you wanted to.
That would be good, because then people can bug test it and send in pull requests for fixes.
There are no bugs, but that's okay. Yeah, they can use it.
Yeah,
There's no bugs at all.
you're right. Well, that's it. So without further ado, we'll see you later. Thanks for stopping by.